Hey watercolor wizards, Hajra here. Today I'll be looking at a brand new set of paints that I bought, and they're from Qor, and I got it because I don't have this brand and it has a different binder than the Snelly or Schmincke paints that I typically use. It's one of my few art purchases of the year. So this is my new set of Qor Watercolor Minis in a tin. This little set has a cool little tin with these little circles at the top, and you guys know how much I love little palettes and tins and stuff. So it had a little silicone mixing tray down at the bottom here, and that's also really cool to me because it's not plastic. These little pans are removable, so you could, once they run out, you can replace them with other pans. It's a little bit bigger than the palm of my hand. It's rather slender. I'll compare it to the other small tins I have in just a second. Colors are labeled on the back, so you'll have the name, the light fastness, and the actual pigment numbers back here, which is really nice. And one of the reasons I was interested in this is because unlike the Schmincke and Snelly paints that I own and love to use, these have a binder of something called Aquasol, and it's a different binder than gum arabic or honey or glycerin. So I wanted to see how that felt different, to try those out in a small, affordable way. So I got this mini tin, and this tin was $60 in the United States, plus a little bit of shipping, and it comes out to about $5 a pan for these 12 colors. And it comes with a little watercolor card with little swatches on it, so I'm going to swatch those so we can see the colors, and also comes with a little booklet. Qor modern watercolors are deep, rich, beautiful color. Qor's exclusive binder gives color greater intensity and clarity while retaining the best qualities of traditional watercolors. Qor offers a strength, range, and versatility unmatched in the history of watercolors. So that's really talking it up, so let's see if any of that is true. Just by counting, I think there's 83 colors on here, and there's only 12 colors in this set, and I think, to the best of my knowledge right now, these are the only colors that come in a pan form. All these other colors have to be bought in tubes. So that's the other reason why I got this set, is apart from having the adorable little tin and silicone mixing tray area, it also has these in pans, and you know I don't buy tubes because I really hate using tubes. Before I start swatching, I wanted to compare the sizes of the different smaller tins that I have to my Qor tin that I just got. The smallest tin that I have currently is a mint size, and this is where I've housed my Snelly Aqua Mini. So the Aqua Mini comes with its own tin, but I transferred it into this mint tin because it's the exact same size, but if you buy the Aqua Mini, it'll be this size. So if you want to travel with it, it will be smaller than the Qor, but if you turn it to the side, you can see that the Qor is thinner. The slightly larger tin that I have, where I've put my Schmincke travel colors in to make it smaller, a little bit bigger than this tin as well, but again, the profile is a bit thinner, but not by much. Then I've got my Cretacolor gouache in this tin, which is definitely bigger and also thicker by a bit. Here's the portable painter, and the portable painter is thicker, but it's also thinner, but also taller. So I also have another small tin by Schmincke where the metallic watercolors came in this. So if you want the extra mixing space, you can have that with these. And these are, of course, those yummy metallic Schminckes. That's a comparison of the different tin sizes if you want any help with that. Okay, so I can immediately tell you that the color saturation for this is immediate and soft and very dense. As long as I've got a mid-tone down here, I can work with knowing what it's going to look like darker or lighter, but if you prefer a gradient, then go ahead and do that. So the second one is Nickel Azo Yellow, very soft, and I found, like, for the Daniel Smith watercolors and also for the Winsor & Newton pans, that they dry very hard and they're very hard to re-wet. So I always let colors that wet pretty much immediately. And it depends on, you know, what humidity you're in, because some people say they really hate the softer colors because where they are is too humid. So this is transparent Pyro Orange. But yeah, this is like my Schmincke and Snelly pans. It wets very fast and it's very good color release. So this red can actually go down darker. All of these colors can go down a bit darker. Here's Quin Magenta. If you get a dioxazine purple, which I have, or a Quin Magenta, which I have, these shouldn't be brighter if you have a lot of these exact same colors in a different brand, unless your brand's like really shoddy, which maybe is something that you can change if you have really cheap brands. But if you've got a nice brand, I'm pretty sure the color saturation will be the same. So I've got the dioxazine purple, ultramarine, phthalo blue, this is sap green. And I am happy with the colors they chose here. So this is a really lovely transparent brown oxide, but this is very standard in that it has, you know, a warm and cool of everything, a warm and cool earth color and a warm and cool of all the primaries, and then a single secondary. And the last one is Payne's Gray, and that's nice instead of a true black because it's got more of a blue identity to it. So it makes a lovely neutral color for shadows. It's lovely for a grisaille, and if you don't know what grisaille is, then be sure to check out my playlist on grisaille value underpainting. A cool and a warm yellow. You've got a single clean secondary orange color, and you've got a warm and a cool red, and then again a single secondary violet color, and you have a warm and a cool blue, and a single secondary green. I like that they chose an olive green because you can always make it more blue, but it's hard to get a nice olive green to start with, so that was a good choice. It's not too strident, very natural looking. Warm and cool earth color, and then a single neutral with a blue lean to it. So very, very adorable. Obviously, when you've got waterproof inks like the Dr. P.H. Martin's, they're gonna be more acrylic-y and have a sort of shellac type sheen. So it's a different finish than the watercolor. This is my swatches of my Gansai Tombi that I actually gave away in a giveaway, but I still have the swatches. I feel like I can see colors just as vibrant all around. All the colors I have seem to stack up pretty well next to the Qors. So here's a Dioxazine Violet by the Snellier, and it looks just as vibrant. Here's various yellows, also look just as vibrant. The Ultramarine Blues and the Phthalo Blue, and in the Snellier they also look just as vibrant as the Qor colors. Same for the Schmincke colors, that's the Ultramarine versus the Ultramarine. And the Phthalo Blue is up here versus this color. Quin Magenta and Magenta is down here, and they're pretty darn vibrant in the Schmincke's. So no improvement as far as color vibrancy. Nice colors, but not better than the ones I already had in Schmincke and Snellier. So I'm using Arches Hot Press, the Phthalo, the Sap Green, and the Pyro Red at least, and maybe a few more colors. We'll see what happens. Oh crap. I just went and tracked over this blue. Oh my goodness, that's probably ruined that for sure. Let's see if I can get that off. There goes my botanical study, right? Freaking awesome. Let's try to dab that up. So these are very staining colors, as you can see. So here's a white gel pen. Yeah, I might just have to redo this whole thing, and then I can try to sand it off with a mono sand eraser. And I might just turn it over and use the other side of the paper. Dry this off. Dry, dry, dry. Turn it over. Go ahead and draw this and then come back. So just give me a second. Okay, so I'm not gonna finish this piece, but I'm just gonna try painting on here just a little bit, just so I can see how these paints work. I do like the sort of handling consistency of the Schmincke and the Snellier better. This seems just a bit too fast to spread, and the actual consistency of the paint particles seems just a bit larger, and that's a hunch I have, that it seems to be less finely ground in comparison. Yeah, the handling quality is a bit more splotchy and inky than the other watercolors I've used. Schmincke, Snellier, Daniel Smith, and the Gansai Tombi, all of them. I don't think this is going to turn into my favorite paint. I think sometimes if you have a paint that spreads too much, then it's hard to control what it does in a smaller space. So if you work larger and you don't care about bleeds as much, then, and your bleeds are just helping a piece because it's a large piece, then this is probably going to be something that you like. But if you have a smaller space and you want to control details, then it is a bit harder to control a paint that spreads more like ink than something that behaves more like watercolor. So that's something to keep in mind. It doesn't list the pigment properties on the brochure or on the back of the tin, and by that I mean I don't know if these are opaque, semi-opaque, transparent, or staining, granulating. They don't give me that kind of information, and I would actually find that more helpful than knowing if it's pigment red, 17 or pigment red, whatever. That's not that helpful when I'm actually painting. The binder somehow is making the watercolor that's made with gum arabic and honey, it makes its spread a bit different than the Aquasol, which spreads more like ink. So I think I do prefer Snellier and Schmincke. I tried doing one more painting with these paints, and it was just this simple bear and ornament. And I tried to do something that had like looser, more open shapes in it, so that I didn't have to really blend in a really tight space, and I could have more bleeds without it making as much of a difference. I feel like any of the effects that I've achieved here for any of the blends that I've achieved here took more work and were still more sort of splotchy and rugged and sort of raw looking than if I had achieved them with paints that were easier to work with. So I still think what I thought before, the gradients that I love to create aren't really happening in the smoothest fashion. And I'm thinking back to like that piece I just did with the labyrinth characters and how many folds there were in the cape that Jareth was wearing and how many details I had to sort of get gradient blends on or lift highlights for. And I just feel like if I had been doing it with these paints, I would not have gotten the result that I did, and if whatever result I got would have been harder to achieve. But I would also worry that if you don't own any other watercolor paints at all, and these were your first paints, that you might think that all watercolor paints are this unforgiving, and it's not true. One person's trash is another person's treasure, so if this works for you, that's great. It's just not gonna work for me. And I think I know for sure that I'm not gonna like them better ever than my Snellier or Schmincke paints, and also that the handling of some of the other paints I've tried, whether it's Daniel Smith or Gansai Tomby or Winsor & Newton, all of them still handle better. It seemed that my other paints had a finer pigment particle grind. Just the way that the paint sort of comes off the brush, it feels like it's a little bit more coarse than the other paints that I own. The bigger factor is that what they're calling their new Aquasol binder is not that great. The honey, gum arabic, and glycerin combinations with some oxgall that other fine art watercolor brands have used, those formulas actually work much better. Because basically when you're using something like honey or gum arabic or glycerin, it's a sticky, sugary sap. And that actually helps dispersion of the paint, and it helps give it an even spread and soft blends and makes it more amenable to lifting and correction. So I do think that's a big loss here. And so the end result is that this paint gives you inky bleeds that move too far and stains that won't lift or correct even in a wet puddle oftentimes, and patchier blends and edges as you're building up glazes. And it depends on your style and your technique, but for me, those are not the results that I'm looking for. And so I do think that these paints would be good for a simple ink and wash style, or for large, loose, abstract pieces where you want bleeds to do really amazing things and go really far. But it's not the best for details and soft blends and controls and good lifting, and that would include stuff like botanical painting or smaller art that has a lot of details, and so it's not really something that would work for me. You put in a lot more work and get a less beautiful, worse result, so that's not what you're looking for if you have chronic pain either. And yeah, the colors are pretty and vibrant, but not any more so than the same colors with these names that I own from other fine watercolor brands. These are so much more effort on my hands that I think I might just return them. I'm still thinking about it. But if I do keep them, then I'm gonna end up using them like in an ink and wash style or for background effects and stuff. Well, Wizards, hope you enjoyed my first time trying out these Qor watercolor pans. Please like, comment, subscribe, and check out my website link, Skillshare, and Patreon page to support my art and art channel below. Thanks for parking your brushes here, and wishing you all epic art adventures.